I don't assume we have any public to make comments, so we don't need to worry about that. Changes to the agenda, I don't think we have any of those either. Minutes approval for March 23rd. Can I get a motion on that? Moved by Amanda,
Second.
seconded by Dan. I will take a roll call of the members present at the moment. That would be Amanda,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and I vote yes too. And we're still missing Dave and Anna, so we'll just move on without them. All right, shares report. The first thing we need to do is reschedule our, well, here comes Dave. That's a good thing. The first thing we need to do is reschedule our May meeting. Hi, Dave. Because it's currently scheduled on Memorial Day. So I don't know how you want me to do this. I can send out a doodle poll, but right now it looks like the Tuesday and Wednesday afternoons of that week would be the optimal time to reschedule. Amanda?
On that Tuesday, the 26th, I have the library board, so that won't work for, well, if it's early in the day.
Well, yeah, it could be.
Okay.
Do it at like 10:30. I'm not a huge fan of 9:30 meetings, especially now. I'm not only retired, I'm like quarantined, so I sleep late. But what does everybody else's schedule look like?
I'm open.
Okay.
I'm open too, and 10:30 is a great time of day for me.
Okay, so let's agree that that meeting will be that Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Will that work for you, Katrina?
Does that work on our?
Yes, I think that works great because it gives you time to get items on the legislature agenda too for the following meeting, if need be.
Yes.
Okay, super duper. So that will be the 26th of May. All right.
Thank you.
Now, the rest of my news isn't so easy. You're probably all following the same news sources I am. You know, we have an extended budget committee meeting tomorrow at 5:30, which is why Jason, nobody's here from admin today, and that's fine. I don't think there's much to report since our last ledge meeting, and we'll be hearing more tomorrow night at the expanded budget committee meeting. Last year, we were very active and we got a lot done. And we also had some wiggle room in our budget to push forward agenda items and things that we'd like to see happen. And I know that there are things like watershed manager and an energy person that we'd really like to see added to county staff. And I know that was something, those were things among others that we all wanted to work on this year. I don't think we're gonna have any money to play with. So I'm asking us all to put our thinking caps on and be creative about things we can be doing for the environment that don't necessarily cost money. And I'm also hoping that we'll be able to work with HED and TCAD and the Chamber of Commerce and the other people who are going to be pushing for us to develop ways to get our economy back up and running, so that the ways that we choose are ways that are energy efficient, sustainable, renewable. So that's my ask, that's our task. Yay. All right, enough from me. Does anybody, in Jason's absence, does anybody on the committee have anything they want to talk about? Don't be shy. Amanda.
Well, just wanted to follow up, since this is the committee that has a lot of advisory boards. I know last week, was it, we talked about some of them getting started up again. I don't know if folks, if is there any news on that, or Jason's still working on that, or is there any guidance we're supposed to be giving the EMC or the Water Resources Council at this time until then?
Well, my understanding from the Lutch meeting was that Jason and Jonathan were going to be coming up with some guidance. I've heard nothing more on that. And I would assume as chair of GO, you would have heard
Yeah,
anybody else. So I got nothing.
okay. That's fine. I just was, I think probably the main ones that I'm thinking of are the EMC and the Water Resources Council, who have people who are, able to do Zooms, and, that could fit into what you were just talking about, in terms of being creative about, having advisory boards step up to do some more work this year, whatever
Well,
that means.
yeah.
Yeah.
The case board people are already working on it. Okay, Anna's here. So now we've got everybody.
I've been watching from the sidelines, but
The only thing I can suggest is that you can be disobedient the way the case board is. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
Because even when I asked about how we were supposed to get the word out to the public about these meetings, nobody seemed to have a very good idea.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the only thing I can say is that I really hope that this year we will have these boards come more regularly to Peak and report out on what they're doing. That's one way to get the word out to the public, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Planning and sustainability. We received Katie's report via email. Hi, Megan. How you?
Sure.
I don't know, Megan, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that pretty much summed up, everybody's working. Katie sent her apologies. I think she was working on some EOC things today, but I'm happy
She
to
doesn't
take
need
any
to
questions.
apologize. Does anybody have any questions for Megan? All right, then I guess we'll move on to the resolutions. First of all, making a neg deck on the modifications to the ag plan. Could I get somebody to move that? That's ID number 9314. Dan moves it, Dave seconds it. So it's on the floor, and I know that Mila and Scott are both here, as well as Monica. So if you all want to talk about this, we're happy to hear about it.
Okay, so Monica was going to do a little preamble, then I was going to run through the things that are in your packet. So Monica, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just want to get clarification though. Are you just asking us questions about the resolution specifically, or actually about the process and the final, the maps and the recommendations for
Well,
removal?
thanks for that clarification, Monica. I think that we've heard from you about the process in the past. This initial resolution is primarily procedural.
Right.
So I guess initially, does anybody have any questions about the seeker form?
Yeah, so the seeker, the part 1 and part 2 is required as part of the process. The state does require that be included in the packet that we send to them. So that has been completed. We don't feel there are any particular negative impacts from basically keeping land in agriculture. The change of land use doesn't change. And I mean, the land that's taken out isn't going to be impacting in a big way because it was not really land that was, hugely active in agriculture. So we are removing more than we're adding in, but still on the whole, it's there really isn't any significant change. Even the land that's being taken out, it's a lot of small parcels, so it's already divided into small parcels, so it's not like being developed. It's already subdivided and developed. Much of the land that's being removed. We tended to focus on smaller isolated parcels that are not associated with agriculture, not in a district. Sometimes they're woodlands, sometimes they're by the lake. So we'll go into that in more detail when we actually look at the maps and you can see where the parcels are.
Okay.
So
Does
for the
anybody-
seeker,
Sorry.
we feel that that's pretty complete unless you have questions about it.
Does anybody have questions about the seeker? All right, then, are we ready to vote? So, Amanda? Yes.
Yes.
Articulate. Anna? You're muted. Dan?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So that passes. And now we can move on to the meat of the matter, which is the actual modifications to the plan, which is ID 9313. Dave moves that. Can I get a second? From Amanda, thank you. Now, if people have questions, I suspect they will raise them. If not, if you don't have any specific questions, then Mila, Scott, Monica, is there anything we need to know?
Okay, I'm just looking through your agenda to make sure I'm not missing something. Okay, those are the specific recommendations from the Ag and Farmland Board. And obviously the Ag and Farmland Board is charged on behalf of the county for reviewing the Ag District. This district, number 1, is in the eastern side of the county and encompasses a number of towns: Lansing, Groton, Dryden, Caroline, and parts of Danby and Ithaca. And so that process started 300 days ago, thank goodness, because we got it done before the coronavirus kept us from going to towns and reaching out to each of the towns, whether it was the planning committees, in some cases town boards, in some cases where they have agriculture committees. All of these entities at the municipal level this year have been really helpful in helping to move forward with the recommendations, looking very specifically at parcels that might be removed. As you might recall, only during the 8-year review can you actually remove parcels. We can add parcels every year, but removals is an 8-year activity. So it's important that we take the time to look very carefully at what parcels really are no longer considered parcels that will go into active agriculture in the future. The state's definition of active agriculture has shifted, and basically it's land that if it might be available for farming, we should consider whether it should stay in the district. But in this case, we picked, we really feel like we honed in on the parcels that are very, very unlikely to be farmed in the future. So let me see where I was going with this. So I think I know, I was distracted by the fact that in the action, I see town of Gorton is spelled wrong under the action document. I didn't catch that first time through. So that just might be a little correction you might want to make.
Yeah, I think that's what they call plain error or something.
Yeah, right, a typo. So, yeah, so.
I like Gorton though. It's
Yeah, right. It's like whatever. So yeah, so we have we did get an extension, if you will, from the state because our public hearing will be May 19th. The state and the anniversary date for this district is actually tomorrow. And but the state gives counties flexibility in terms of getting the documents into them. And since we have our public hearing date scheduled, we're all fine with the state. They know we're going to be a little late in terms of getting documents to them. So the final stages here are basically the The public hearing will be on the 19th. That's a chance for anyone, whether it's from an actual municipal representative or a citizen from the towns, for them to come forward to indicate whether they have any issues with this recommended removals and additions, if they want to be added to the district and have agriculture land. That's something that can still be considered during the public hearing. And then we will make modifications in the final list of parcels to add or remove based on that hearing, and get it to you for your approval at the, I think it was the June, your first meeting in June, so that we could have the board vote on it at that time, and then get all the documents together to send to the state. So that's the process, and Mila's going to go through the actual town by town lists of removals. If there are any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
No, thanks, Monica.
I
Scott?
just wanted to make a couple of quick notes. So yeah, Cooperative Extension's been doing a ton of heavy lifting on this. One of the big things they've done in the last couple of months too is outreach to landowners to verify they wanted the recommended action to stand, removal or addition. One notation we found last week was the actual addition number should be 369.58, not 367.89. I provided that to Katrina and Kathy on that too. The second note was in preparation for the public hearing. I wasn't satisfied how, and actually Monica originally flagged this too, how the maps uploaded to your packet, they got oversized. So we actually sharpened and standardized those maps for public hearing. And those can be available for your more detailed review too. And then thirdly, Cooperative Extension flagged one addition that was proposed to be a part of the annual addition for Ag District 2, which is the other side. I recommended we hold off on that just for clarity to keep that separate. So later in the perhaps summer, we'll bring that stuff to you, which will be a much more simple process. But those are my 3 quick points, and keep rolling, Cooperative Extension.
Yeah, and actually in that regard, that annual edition will just have to wait till next February, because there's a set time by New York State when those annual editions are made. So we'll put it back on the agenda in February. It'll be approved in March. Hopefully it'll work okay for the landowner. She was trying to get some her parcels combined because they're contiguous into one parcel, and it would have some tax benefit for doing that. So we hope we can help the landowner out too in that regard.
Can I interrupt and just to ask a question? Scott, your points whipped by so quickly.
Sorry.
Catch the number, the correction you said.
So the corrected number, it's just off for by about 2 acres. We recognize that. So the corrected total should be represented in your resolution too as 369.58 acres addition.
Okay.
It says 367.89 right now. So it's just a couple of acres off.
So Kathy and or Katrina will get that corrected before the ledge meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
One more side point, sorry. I've been working with Kathy and I'll work with Cooperative Extension to publicly notice that with the legal ad for the public hearing this week. And that will basically direct people to our website where the full file will be that has all the updated maps, all the parcel lists of like what specific parcel and acreage, and the memo that you received too with the updated acreage.
Thank you. A nice haircut.
Yeah, my daughter did it. What do you think? All right.
Yeah, I think it looks good actually.
That's
A little high and tight, but it's all right.
Watching you guys all deal with your hair.
That or a perm. I didn't know which way to go.
I think you made the right choice.
All right.
Just a comment on that addition too, that Scott mentioned at the request. The other issue with that is that the state actually, there are really 2 different parts of the Ag District law. The addition procedures separate from the review. And so especially for the annual edition. So the state, we checked with them and they also advised that we kind of do it as 2 steps because the district review is a distinct action and annual editions are a distinct action. Even though we have additions as part of the district review, because that parcel is in Ag District 2, it doesn't make sense.
Which is not under review.
Now it's not Ag District 1. So,
Okay,
so you know.
that makes sense. And I'm glad you dotted that I and crossed the I.
Right. Yeah, we've been checking with the state along the way, just so, because last time we discovered, oh, we were missing a few things. So now we know. All right, so I'll let Mila go down through your packet just to review. Oh, Anna.
Anna has a question.
I just, a question, I'm looking at, of course, I just flipped through. So I'm looking at packet page, well, the numbers are too small. Packet page 16. I'm sorry, I'm going blind. And this is specifically in Danby. And I'm assuming that the listing of removals is patchwork throughout the district. And I was just wondering, I'm assuming these are physical buildings, but I was wondering what the ramification is of sort of patchwork dot removing individual parcels within a larger agricultural district. So like next time we look at this, it'll basically have holes sort of in the middle of the agricultural district rather than continuity, and what the impact is of encroachment of sort of loss over time of or sort of degradation of the integrity of the comprehensiveness of the district over time. If you could talk a little bit about that. I'm not
Well,
sure.
I think Mila, when she goes through the maps individually, she'll touch on that.
Okay.
But I think a little bit of the implication, especially in Danby, is that we look, well, I think it's better she go map by map, and then I think some of those questions will be answered. So.
Yeah, and I guess my question is also sort of the larger overarching practice of doing that, not just in Danby, but I'd love to hear from the 3 of you what, your overarching.
That's not something, we really would like to see Swiss cheese districts. It's not really our goal, but the reality is if the land that, pardon me, if it's not contiguous to any active ag land, and I think, again, it's better to look at Danby as a unique case because it was really the town that asked for a lot of parcels to be removed. What we did in thinking about which ones to remove, we actually went piece by piece and sent letters to all the landowners and got their input as to whether they wanted to be in or out of the district. And even beyond that, if they were if they didn't request to stay in, but their land was contiguous to active ag and land getting ag assessment, we kept them in anyhow. So we didn't necessarily go with what the town had requested, but we went part way to keep everybody happy. So
the town was pretty aggressive about how many pieces they wanted to take out of the district. And it did look a lot more like Swiss cheese before. This is a much more kind of unified map than it was before. But we'll go through that town by town. And actually, I think, why don't we go ahead and do that?
Yeah.
I can either share my screen or you guys can follow along in your packets.
It might be easier for you, Mila, if you shared your screen and then you could just point specific things out with your cursor.
Okay. All right, so I'm assuming you can all see my screen right now. And so let me make that a little smaller so we can see the overview. All right, so so you all have this page in your packet that lists the summary of what's being added and what's being taken away. Now we'll go through the maps bit by bit so you can see how all these numbers come together. So the first one that we're looking at is the town of Caroline. And that's really simple. It's just one removal. Everything else is staying the same. And that's the Boiseville cottages that are there in that spot. So that's an area that is, developed and never going to go into ag. So we felt comfortable taking that one out.
And all of these actually have been vetted by the town. So the town knows this was, I mean, they agreed with this recommendation.
So this is the one that Anna comes up with a lot of questions for us. So they had recommended quite a few parcels be taken out. And so we did a fairly detailed analysis of which ones should stay in and which ones could come out. And so this is a bit of a happy medium. So starting up in this corner, that was a really clear one that could be easily taken out. It's not really contiguous with the main portion of the ag district. And that is, it was, one parcel once upon a time, but now it's something like 38 or 40, somewhere in the high 30s, low 40s number of housing parcels. So this is now a housing development, so that's taken out. There were quite a few other pieces throughout here that were all being marked for removal. What we ended up doing is we ended up looking at these pieces bit by bit. So here, there's not a lot of heavy active ag there. So the fact that the town wanted these removed, we were okay with. Same thing with these pieces along the roads here. There's not a lot of heavy ag being done there. There's a lot of kind of forested land. So we felt comfortable with that. And again, we're trying to keep these pieces like here or right at these crossroads where there's less active ag use and clearly more like housing development happening. Oh, and one of these pieces was adjacent to the cemetery. So again, not a heavy ag use there. The neighbors there don't complain too much.
But they plant bodies. No.
Hopefully not much fruit coming out of that one. So this is a bit of a compromise. Danby was, when we met with the folks at Danby, what they had done is they had looked at any parcels that were under 3 acres. And that didn't seem to have active ag use. What we found after reaching out to all the landowners is there are actually quite a few people who were doing some sort of ag-like activity on their, under 3 acre parcels. So, so we kept those folks in.
And even on top of that, some of the folks that contacted us had, their frontage, the house might have been in the front, but they had some affiliation with the ag parcel that was behind them. So we wanted to make sure they were kept in the district too.
Yeah, because there were a whole, along Troy and Muzzy, there were a whole lot of parcels that had been flagged for removal, but there's so much active ag right behind those parcels that we thought it best to keep them in. Anna, does that address your questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the last piece of that was just trying to understand if you guys had like some sort of standard protocol or formula for evaluation, or if it really is sort of a case by case.
It really is kind of case by case. I think in this case, this was a little bit of a working back and forth with the town, because the town was really aggressively looking to pull things out of the district. And so we kind of met in between with them.
Great, thank you.
And I think you see most towns have some gaps like this too, as you'll see as we go through, with some few exceptions. I'm always very resistant to take stuff out, but the case was made to me that this is really truly one of the first times that Danby's really had a chance to do some of this almost administrative work to take some of these smaller parcels out. And so this is partly in reaction to that. And that's partly why this feels bigger than maybe it is. I think this is the first time they've had that action. But yeah, I have that same reaction, like, whoa, I don't know if taking these out might be a problem, but I don't think it is in this case.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and move down into Drytown. Again, most of the pieces that are being taken out are being focused down to this area. A lot of that is heavily forested, not being used as ag land. And there's a few parcels that are within the actual villages that were in the ag district that are not actively being farmed right now. So being within the village borders, it made sense to remove those.
And that area in the southern part of the town of Dryden, also there's some land trust land there, there's some state land there. So, you know, again, that's not going to be actively farmed. And it's mostly up on the hill and in woods.
And then let's see, in Groton, this is unusual for this year. We only have additions here, no removals. So I'm happy to say that there's more land in Groton being put into active farm use.
Nice.
And those are pieces that are part of existing farm operations. So, so.
I believe the correct name of the town is Gorton, though.
We'll let them know next. Let's see,
Yeah,
town of
Gorton.
Ithaca. This is a rec trail land and then a forested piece that's adjacent to that. So that's pretty clear. Lansing might have a little more to discuss, but we went through a kind of really thorough process with the town of Lansing. And so the pieces up here that are being removed, these are some kind of, you know, they're lakefront cottages. So fairly tiny parcels that are clearly not being used. This is, you know, kind of gorgy, slopey looking areas, and again, not being farmed. This piece has been added in the district, and there's a number of pieces that were, again, kind of a Swiss cheesy bits that were in the district down this way that are not actively being farmed anymore. And with this one, it's down part of the new sewer district. So the town of Lansing is being very deliberate about trying to keep everything kind of above this Preamble Road, Ridge Road line in the ag district, and things that are below that are where they'd like to focus any future development.
Again, there's a couple of pieces that are staying in that lower part, but that's because the landowner actively uses them for agriculture. They get ag assessment, and they intend to keep it actively farmed in the next 8 years. So there's always an opportunity in 8 years to change things more.
And so that's the end of the maps. And then beyond that, what you'll see is the actual listing of the parcel numbers, the acreage, and the municipality. So the first section is the additions. So those are the 3 additions in Groton and the 1 in Lansing. And that does have the correct number on it. The second piece here, we do have to correct where it says Ag District 2, because it's Ag District 1. But again, this is listed by municipality, and these are the removals. So you'll see the name of the municipality, the number of acres, and the parcel number. So if there's anything that you specifically want to look into, we can look into those. And that's just a few pages. The Danby list is pretty long.
I don't have that in my
Really long
packet.
because, you know, that one large parcel got broken up into many little housing parcels. So it looks like a really long list, which is a little bit deceptive because of those changes.
And you can see a lot of these parcels are really pretty small, went throughout the whole list. So they're not really the size that could be farmed.
Right, like for instance, these are all, you know, half-acre-ish parcels. They're not so much farmland. They've been made into housing parcels. Pieces like this, like the 98 acre parcel in Dryden, that's forest land that's being taken out of the ag district. So some of these numbers really, like even just looking at the numbers, you can kind of read the story of the patterns here. Any of the smaller pieces are all usually, you know, houses that have been built.
Deborah, can I?
Yeah, go ahead, Anna.
Just a non sequitur, 2 things. Well, one, I don't have this table in my packet, but also.
I don't either.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Tom Shelley reached out and wanted to be brought in as a panelist because he wanted to give the EMC report. He's watching, but he needs to be upgraded to a panelist. So I just wanted to ask if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it would. That's fine. Just please suggest to him that he contact me and or Dan next time.
Will do.
Thank you.
All right. So
this,
I'm gonna go ahead and if there aren't any more questions, I'll stop sharing so I can give the control of the computer screen back to someone else.
This parcel list was an addition that I sent to Kathy and Katrina last week, realizing this is a key piece that you would want for reference moving forward of what was added and deleted. So this was not originally submitted. My apologies.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, as long as when it finally goes to the ledge, it needs to be in there.
Yes, correct.
Right. All right. I think that's all we have, unless you have questions.
Mhm.
And again, we have between now and the May 19th for the public hearing, and then we'll make any final changes after before the legislative vote to get the packet together to send to the state. We do have to submit Mila did a survey to the farmers and landowners who rent to farmers in the ag district. We'll be compiling that information that goes to the state as well, just to kind of talks about the level of activity of agriculture in the district. So that we're still hoping we get a few more surveys back, but that will be worked on in May, and we'll include that in the packet.
That would be great. I think Amanda has a question.
Yeah, thank you all for all your work on this. My question is a little bit more procedural. I don't know if Scott can answer, but I'm not sure we've had a public hearing yet on Zoom. So I know you guys are reaching out to lots of people. How are we wanting people to, do we want them to send an email and it will get read? Do you want them to show up at the legislature meeting?
It's a great question, and it's one that Kathy and I have talked a little bit about. Back when this was initially breaking, we reached out to Jonathan for this question, how do we do a public hearing even? His initial reaction was, let's do it all written comments only submitted prior to the date. But we've come to have a little added discussion that's a little limiting. And Kathy noted that next week at your legislature meeting, you're going to be holding a public meeting, which will allow people to participate. So we're toying with some language where the public could write in up till the 19th, looking at the maps, the detail, or actually, participate in the meeting. And we're kind of working the language this week for what that would say. So I think the thought is written would be explicit on written, but also say you can also, call and participate in the meeting if we can figure out how that can work.
Okay, so either really, you written is
Hopefully.
fine, but there will be a way for people to attend and speak.
Yeah, and perhaps this is also something that after this meeting, I'll discuss a little bit with my colleagues in ITS to make sure that that's how that would work. I know, again, they're working on the language for the public hearing for like next week anyway. So I think my sense is it'd be important to have both.
Yeah.
But, I just want to make sure that's done in the way that makes sense, that people can actually do that.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's great. I'm glad you guys are already thinking about all that. So thank you.
Okay, before we go any further, Katrina or Kathy, can we add Tom Shelley as a panelist?
We don't see him in the waiting room.
Oh, okay.
He is not. This is
He
great.
is joining back in right now, he said.
Okay. So you guys, can you all do that in the background while we?
Yeah, we'll let him in as soon as he.
Okay, thank you. All right, are we ready to vote on this resolution? Okay, Amanda Champion,
Yes.
Anna Kellis,
Yes.
Dan Klein,
Yes.
Dave McKenna. Unmute yourself, Dave. Dave. Oh, okay.
I bet he lost.
I vote yes. I guess that's enough. We lost you, Dave. Come back. All right. Okay. I know that Katrina and Kathy are taking care of getting Tom Shelley on board. And then meanwhile, let's hear our update on the food policy.
Okay, I'm on board here, and Don Barber I see he's joined the meeting. Don's muted still. But we will give you an update. Let me get myself organized here. All right. Don.
While Monica's getting herself organized,
Yeah, okay.
I'll just start. And on behalf of the Food Policy Council, we want to thank the county for providing funds and the charge to develop a proposed food system plan for Tompkins County. So we're here today to provide an update on our work and immediate plans. We are pleased to report that we are also awarded funding by the Community Foundation of Tompkins County in the amount of $17,250 that will help support our outreach efforts for this year, 2020, as we gather input from community members. We also want to begin with an acknowledgement of how the corona pandemic has drawn even more attention to the inequities of our local food system, creating an even greater sense of urgency for a plan that improves our community's resiliency and results in equitable access to healthy food for all people at all times. The pandemic is galvanizing grassroots organizing across the county, almost entirely through remote means to address immediate issues. The Food Policy Council members are closely working and learning from these efforts, and which will inform our future engagement strategies. While many impromptu actions are spontaneously taking place to address some of these shortcomings, and all with electronic communications, it is possible for us to gather information about the identified shortfalls and steps that are taken to address them. The Food Policy Council sees this activity as an opportunity. Food system players and stakeholders are coming together to solve problems in a way that we could only have dreamt of happening just a month ago. They are sharing experiences, brainstorming responses, and taking actions to fix what they can. The Food Policy Council's opportunities to stay connected and to capture this developing information. To that end, our Community Food Policy Council coordinator is connecting with the Food Crisis Task Force for information sharing. This pandemic will more than likely make a food system plan a sought-after document for organizations and agencies and local governments as they brace for the next crisis. And maybe we are still be able to build reliable structures in our new world. Monica.
Okay, thanks, Don. We're kind of tag teaming this, and I think Don's bandwidth is a little low out there in Caroline. So you came through okay, though, Don. That was good. So yes, since the beginning of the year, we've been meeting. The Food Policy Council basically started with about 8 people, and now we've formed a food system planning committee, and we have about 20 different people engaged. And so everybody's currently providing input to our work plan. We did hold an outreach event on February 26th at the public library. And in that event, we worked with Green Star Community Projects and Building Bridges to plan the agenda. And it was held at the library, as I said, on February 26th. And we, as a result, were able to reach about 200 people just in terms of introducing folks to the fact that we are working on a plan. And then secondly, we had over 100 people, which was kind of the capacity of the library, who participated and provided input on some key questions focused on what do they think is an ideal food system? What would they like to see in 10 years? What are our current assets and gaps in the minds of the participants? And then also, who do we need to involve in the plan? And what are some strategies for reaching the stakeholders that we want to reach? So that's kind of, we got a lot out of that. We have lots of notes and we've summarized them and are ready to use them in terms of framing our, forward moving. But I think the biggest achievement right now, we're so very excited. I think I already introduced, or Graham Savio has been introduced as our agriculture issue leader, taking my spot. And he's been joining the effort and working on both the Food Policy Council and the coordinating committee. And then on top of that, more recently, we were able to hire a coordinator, Katie Hallis, and her former name, she went by Katie Stoner. And she's been engaged for many years in this community, both working at TC3 and in the past working on quite a number of energy and environmental issues. I see Katie joined us somewhere. There she is. So she can say hello if you want to say anything more, Katie, before we jump to Don again. So I'm sure you'll see lots of Katie in the next few months as we move forward with working on the plan. And it's very wonderful to have her on board to help, lead the charge. So, okay.
Thanks,
So
Monica.
I think
Hi, everyone. I won't say too
we're
much
going to
more,
go
but-
back to
but-
Don.
Thanks.
So Katie comes to us as a known quantity in our community, and she's well connected, as well as she's been teaching at TC3 on food systems. So she's already hit the ground running, and we're very pleased to have her join our team. So another action step that we've been working on is the planning phase, of course. And in 2020, our focus is community outreach to learn how the food system works, as well as collect historical data and studies about our food system in the past. In 2021, we'll focus on summarizing the data gathered in 2020 to create a description of our food system, its vulnerabilities, inequities, and gaps, and then develop recommendations. And we'll take that draft back to the stakeholders for feedback before coming to the county legislature with a food system plan document, gets your feedback, and then again presenting our final report to the county. And with so many stakeholders and groups, informants, right down to the food consumers that we need to do it. Spending time planning is really critical to the success of this project. So we've engaged Audrey Baker from the County University Public Health Program in developing a plan and process evaluation model to keep us focused on the end goal. And it's been very helpful in our meetings to stay focused that way. We also have 5 working groups with several food system planning team members serving on more than one committee. So we're grateful for our volunteers for their time and their sincere desire to develop the best process and plan for our community. So that's what we've been up to. And we want to thank you for this opportunity to provide you with a brief update. And we're happy to answer your questions. I look forward to any suggestions that you might have.
Any questions? Any suggestions?
No, I appreciate the update. I'm glad that you've all been busy. And it's interesting to think of this pandemic as an opportunity and a, teachable moment, I guess.
Teachable moment for sure, yes.
Yeah.
Great.
So
And certainly Anna has been at the center of the task force, and so is very much plugged in on that front in terms of being able to help. I think she's seeing what kind of effort there is needed to galvanize the community around food and how important that is, especially if we ever are faced with something like this again, which I hope we aren't, but you never know.
I hope we aren't either.
I mean, the next issue, obviously, that we framed this as addressing climate change, but now it's become a health crisis, so.
Ken, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I just wondered, I know you and I spoke last week. Has there been any progress on the front of citing a coordinator for our emergency food relief programs?
Yeah, so there's, since we spoke, I think right when we spoke, they had just, the task force had attained funding. The funding is coming from Engaged Cornell. And I'm not quite sure of the the overall reasoning for it, but there's funding from Engage Cornell to cover a temporary position for 3 months. And that position will be, there'll be interviews actually taking place over the next several days for that 3-month position. And with the position description actually includes really coordinating closely with Katie and with the Food Policy Council. Katie doesn't know this yet, I don't think, because I don't know if she's seen the position description. But the intention there is to your point about this being a time when I forget the word you just used, but almost a test case or the opportunity to see what some things might need to be changed. The intention here is to use these 3 months as in the work of doing this, some focus on food distribution with a strong connection between producers, the local producers, and food distribution. So looking closely at that, but also just more generally food distribution in the COVID-19 crisis. The information that'll be gathered will contribute directly to Katie's work and the work of the Food Policy Council on developing a longer-term food system planning effort.
That's terrific. No cloud doesn't have a silver lining, so thank you.
Sure.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments on this issue? Okay, well, thank you, food system people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll look forward to hearing.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, I think it's great. All right. So does anybody have anything else they want to talk about, as long as we're all here having such a great time? All right, then. I will take a motion to adjourn, bearing in mind that our next meeting will be on Tuesday, May 26th at 10:30.
Wait,
Can I just say one thing? This is Ann.
Oh, sure.
I just wanted to thank Mila for all her great gardening videos. If people haven't seen them, please take a look.
Yeah, they are great. Thanks for that, Annie. How about you, Amanda?
well, I got a text from Tom Shelley also. He was just, I think, wanting clarity about the advisory boards again. So I think maybe we need to you need to follow up with him about how it's going to work and whatever. I think he had some questions. So.
Okay, I will get in touch with him, and I'll try to goose Jason and Jonathan along towards some sort of procedure, because I know there's a lot our committees could be contributing, and we might as well take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Anything else from anybody? All right, then we are adjourned, and I will see you all again on the 26th at 10:30 a.m.
Yeah. Thank you, Deb. Thank you.
All right, thank you all. Bye.
Bye.